The chilling wind howled through the desolate woods as I stumbled across the crash site. The mangled wreck of what appeared to be a spacecraft lay half buried in the clearing, its metallic surface reflecting the pale moonlight. I had ventured here out of curiosity, following the bright streak that had illuminated the sky just hours earlier. What I didn't expect was to find her. She emerged from the shadows of the wreckage, her slender frame trembling and her glowing, silver eyes scanning the area nervously. She wasn't human, but there was something undeniably familiar about her. Her skin shimmered faintly, like moonlight on water, and her voice, when she spoke, resonated with an otherworldly cadence. "You shouldn't be here," she said, her tone urgent. "If they find me, you'll be their next target, human." My heart pounded as I processed her words. "Who are you? And who are they?" I asked, taking a cautious step closer. "I'm Alaris," she replied, her gaze darting toward the sky. "And they are hunters, relentless and ruthless. They will stop at nothing to capture me, or anyone who helps me." I hesitated, torn between fear and a strange sense of responsibility. She looked fragile, vulnerable, despite her alien features. "What do they want with you?" I asked. Alaris hesitated before answering. "I carry knowledge that could disrupt the balance of power in the galaxy. To them, I'm both a threat and a prize." The sound of distant engines roaring to life snapped us both out of our conversation. Alaris's silver eyes widened in alarm. "They are coming," she whispered. "I need to hide." "Follow me," I said, surprising myself with my own bravery. I led her deeper into the woods, away from the clearing and the looming threat. The trees closed in around us, their branches forming a protective canopy. My mind raced with questions, but there was no time to ask them. After what felt like an eternity, we reached an old, abandoned cabin I had stumbled upon during a previous hike. It wasn't much, but it would provide shelter. Alaris stepped inside cautiously, her eyes scanning every corner. "Thank you," she said, her voice soft but sincere. "But you shouldn't have gotten involved. They'll come after you now." I shrugged, trying to mask my fear with nonchalance. "Too late to back out now. What can I do to help?" Alaris studied me for a moment before responding. "If we can repair a distress beacon from my ship, I can call for reinforcements. But the hunters, they'll be searching for me. We'll need to move carefully." For the next few hours, we worked together to salvage parts from her wrecked spacecraft. Alaris guided me with precision, her alien hands deftly assembling pieces of the beacon while I scavenged for tools and materials. Despite the gravity of the situation, I found myself drawn to her resilience, her quiet determination, and the way her silvery eyes softened when she looked at me. But the hunters were relentless. By dawn, we heard the unmistakable hum of their drones sweeping through the forest. Alaris and I froze as one of the machines hovered near the cabin, its sensors scanning for any trace of her. My heart pounded as I held my breath, praying it wouldn't detect us. "We can't stay here," Alaris whispered. "The beacon isn't ready yet, but we need to move." Grabbing the half-assembled device, we slipped out of the cabin and into the dense underbrush. The forest seemed to close in around us, the shadows providing both cover and a sense of impending doom. Every sound, the crunch of leaves, the snap of a twig, felt amplified, like a beacon alerting the hunters to our presence. We found temporary refuge in a cave nestled between rocky cliffs. Alaris worked tirelessly on the beacon, her hands moving with an urgency born of desperation. I kept watch, my makeshift weapon, a sturdy branch, clutched tightly in my hands. It felt inadequate against the advanced technology of the hunters, but it was better than nothing. "Why are you helping me?" Alaris asked suddenly, breaking the tense silence. I hesitated, unsure of how to answer. "Because it's the right thing to do. You're in trouble, and I couldn't just walk away." Her expression softened, and for a moment, the fear in her eyes was replaced by something else. Gratitude, perhaps, or hope. Just as the beacon neared completion, the hunters found us. The cave erupted in chaos as their drones swarmed the entrance, their blinding lights and piercing sounds disorienting us. Alaris activated a small energy shield, but it wouldn't hold for long. "Finish the beacon," she shouted, tossing me the final component. "I'll hold them off." "What?" "No," I protested, but she had already stepped forward, her shimmering form a beacon of defiance against the approaching threat. With trembling hands, I worked on the beacon, following her earlier instructions. Sparks flew as I connected the final wires, the device humming to life just as the shield began to falter. Alaris fought valiantly, using her alien abilities to disable several drones, but the hunters were closing in. The beacon emitted a high-pitched signal, and moments later, a brilliant light filled the cave. Reinforcements had arrived. Alaris's people materialized in a flash of energy, their advanced weapons quickly overwhelming the hunters. The tide had turned. As the last of the hunters retreated, Alaris turned to me, her silver eyes filled with relief and gratitude. "You saved me," she said. "I'll never forget this." "What happens now?" I asked, my voice shaky from the adrenaline. "Now, I go home," she replied. "But you've proven that humans are capable of great courage and kindness. Perhaps our worlds aren't so different after all." Before I could respond, she placed a hand on my shoulder, a gesture of thanks that resonated deeply. Then, with a final, lingering glance, she and her people vanished, leaving me alone in the cave with the remnants of a battle I would never forget. I emerged from the forest at sunrise, the events of the night feeling like a surreal dream. But the scorch marks on the ground and the faint hum of the beacon's signal reminded me that it had all been real. As I returned to my quiet life, I often thought of Alaris and the courage it took to stand by her side. Her warning echoed in my mind, "If they find me, you'll be their next target." But I no longer felt fear. Instead, I felt a strange sense of connection, to her, to the stars, and to the endless possibilities that lay beyond our world. Weeks later, while gazing at the night sky, a faint, silvery streak crossed the horizon. I couldn't be sure, but something told me it was her, a silent acknowledgement that, even across galaxies, bonds formed in moments of crisis could endure. I smiled, whispering into the stillness, "Safe travels, Alaris."